bring forth the stave shells. These two shells were my poplar tests. They were actually initially milled on the table saw with the dado blade setup, and then finish milled outside on the router jig, inside on the new router jig. This one is a mess up. I forgot a stave. It's only 19 staves, so it ended up at 13.5. So we'll have to use it for some oddball project. This one is 14, continuous grain, dominoes, 2 dominoes at each joint, because I wasn't sure the end grain glue up would hold up. And I was curious if milling would go deep enough and show those. They did not. You do get some glue bleed though, which may be a sand out. I don't think it will, I don't know. The 2 pine shells milled up nice. Left a lot of tooling marks, but they sanded out quickly with the orbital. One downside is all of Bill's original epoxy fills ended up being cut out.
Yeah. It's alright though. We can put them back in. Epoxy is definitely going to be harder than the surrounding wood, so I want to like make sure that I don't make this bubble up too much. You know, because the more I have to like sand it down or scrape it, the more it's going to affect the surrounding wood. But I also know it's going to shrink a little bit.
That's a nice zone of iron sickness.
Yeah. I think this is going to look really cool, man.
This wrap finally came in from Precision Drum. Looks great. It's a bit oversized. Our fault on giving inaccurate dimensions. So it's got to be trimmed down a little bit on the top and the bottom. Trim the overlap. Edges need to be recut. I'm not sure if I want to glue it and then cut it, or cut it and then glue it. And then my brain started overthinking. And when my brain does that, it's best just to walk away. And Bill is buffing shells.
Buffing.
He's bouncing back. He's bouncing between wet sanding and buffing.
Yep.
The snares. So I'm gonna dig in on wet sanding the bases.
Yeah, that was good, dude.
This one had a really big drip all the way around at one edge. Took me forever to sand it out. I ended up going to 320 dry paper just to get it out. And then stepping up through 320 wet, 400, 600, 800. Still wasn't happy with it. Went back through the 400, 600, 800 cycle. I'm gonna let it dry a bit, start on this one. It's hard on the old back. Good enough for the oil-covered ducks and penguins. I think this is my last drum to wet sand. It's gonna be a boring video. It's wet sanding, buffing, wet sanding, buffing. But it's gotta be done. These have been buffed. These things still need bearing edges, snare beds, minimal amount of drilling. We need drum heads. They gotta be assembled. Jim's still finishing some hardware. Got 4 nakers in the works. Those just need a couple holes and then assembled. And back to it. Two basses and 2 snares left to buff. It was easily the most mind-numbing day and the most boring video to date.
Yeah, wet sanding and buffing sucks. Yep.
We need some machines.
Yep.
We need some automation, folks. We need a mad scientist who can come up with machines that I can't think of yet.